Afternoon here at the Pro Superstar Shootout 2025. Just taking a look at some of the teams, what's going on today. This is Tony Stewart's hospitality suite. He was here earlier out doing autographs, and did get a look at his little boy Dominic. Wednesday he had him out for everybody to see, which was pretty cool. He had a big smile on his face. I've got some pictures and video of it also. Guys are working on putting everything back together and getting ready for another round here in a bit. So we'll smoke man. We get a chance to talk to him, wish him good luck for his season. And he's not out right now. And you got Matt Hagen's funny car with the American Rebel light, which I want to try one of those. So they're working on putting the motor back together on that one as well. The big Matt Hagen. It's a beautiful day today here, and it's one of those days where you're just glad to be alive and be here at the drag strip and enjoying some nitro and some racing fuel and some badass cars. You know, I want to bring this Camaro to you real quick. I just did a short on it. This thing's amazing. 526. It's street legal. You imagine cruising down the road in this thing? Crazy. Pull up to the stoplight and people are like, what? I love it. I'm sure he drives it to Woodward Cruise because it's from Michigan, this car is. Custom, front sheet metal on this thing. You can see how long the fenders are if you look at it. It's a one-piece lift off, but it's extended, which really gives it a cool look. Seeing that thing way out there, it total gives the car a different dynamic on the look of it, which is just, cool. Beautiful tires, big Goodyear slicks on it. Street legal. There's the tag. And there's the rear. Strange axle up under it. Really nice, well thought of build on this thing. It's cool. I saw it at Sick Week at Speed World. Well, let's move on. Got plenty to see and look at today, that's for sure. Matt Hagen. Got the Force team here. Looks like John might be out. Or Fast Jack Beckman. Austin Prox. Top Fuel. Funny car. Working on getting the motor together on that. Everybody's waiting for autographs. Fast Jack Beckman. Brittany was out earlier. So. I like their taste in music. Sounds good. Little zappy to crank you up in the morning. Got a lot of people here today on Saturday. Some pretty nice builds over here. American Classic horsepower. Really like this 71 CUDA build. It is sharp.
No, I didn't see that. That's cool. Daddy Don Garlits.
Color keyed a lot of the motor components, which is neat. Custom grill and cowl plates right there. Some really neat detail in this build. It is beautiful. The 71's my favorite CUDA, just due to those and the grill in the front and the billboards on it. This got all custom interior. It's a 4-speed pistola grip there. They got the hood where it looks like the shaker's there, but look at the trunk. Wow.
Lights out. Flying cars. We sponsored it last year.
Pretty sharp. That is one beautiful CUDA. Then we've got a nice Corvette here. 63 split window, I believe. Marina blue. Just amazing. Now this is 67, I believe. I'll look at the back of it. Love the Marina blue, just sets these cars off. It's got a late model 427 small block in it with all the goodies, AC, modern brakes. This car will drive from here to California without a problem. The late model drive line in it. So you got the classic style on the outside and the late model drive line throughout. And I'm sure you can drive this car anywhere. It's a great, innovative idea of, making them the old cars where they can be reliable and get you from point A to point B. But good stuff. Of course, we got the electric car, 1800 EV, which is pretty damn cool. They ran it a couple times yesterday, and I tell you what, it hooked up and it wheelied, and then it just shuttered the tires. So they have a problem with trying to get the traction down to the ground with this thing, and it's a problem they're gonna have to contend with, to try to hook up 1800 horsepower on it. So,
how you doing?
hey man, how you doing? Talked to you yesterday.
Oh yeah, good to see you again.
Yes, sir.
If you want more of a walk around, I can have my colleague come out, and I'm sure he'd be happy to talk you through it a little bit.
Okay, we can do that. Sure. Why not?
Available.
I've got a lot of video on this car.
Do you? Good. Awesome.
Yeah, hold on. We're going to get somebody to give us a once over on this car and tell us what's going on with it. What the future is of this drag car. Is it going to be reality or not? Hey, I'm Brad.
Nick, nice to meet you.
Nick, nice to meet you, sir.
So you're interested in looking at the car today?
Yeah, I looked at it quite a bit and I saw it run. I got a couple videos online on it on YouTube. So tell me, what's the future of these possibly being a reality of a drag car, a separate class?
Yeah.
And kind of what Ford's going to do to try to implement these, and will they sell them, as they do the Super Cobra jet eventually,
Yeah, so today this is a one-of-one demonstrator. And really, we're trying to answer some of those questions of what would a class look like. And that's part of the mission here. To show the fans, show the NHRA sort of what a class that would run this level of voltage and this power would look like. Some of that also relates to safety. So
Yes,
at the end of the day, this car is actually much closer to a drag car than it is like something off the street for an electric car.
of course.
We have all these electric motors, but they're in the front. We have a single output with a crank flange and a bell housing. We run a 5-speed transmission, a 9.5-inch rear. It's all very conventional to make it not only familiar to racers, but that's also just the engineering decisions we make to make the car perform well.
Gotcha.
Some of the critical stuff when it comes to like when we look at it as a series, would be things like safety. And one of the big things is this is our front pack. One of the questions that everyone has when it comes to electrified vehicles is like, what would happen if there's an issue with the battery? One of the approaches we take to that is we have a lot of battery management systems running on the vehicle. We collect a lot of data, a lot of thermal data, and we would know ahead of time if a cell begins to have a thermal issue. Not a fire, but it would just start to get hot, we can't control it thermally.
Gotcha.
We only condition the packs in the pits. We're heating them right now. We set them to a certain temperature for a run. But on track, if there is an event, we have a firefighting vehicle with a pressurized water tank, very similar to the NHRA Safari. We use the same kit. But what we have, instead of a typical firefighting hose, we have a connector that actually mates to this port on the battery.
Oh, yeah.
Flood port.
Just like a big post, battery
And
post.
so we also provide it to the NHRA Safety Safari. We also have our own truck when we go testing. Essentially, instead of like a traditional fuel fire where you just spray water on it, we would identify that a certain pack in the car has an issue. We would say, okay, battery pack 1, we need to get this thing flooded. Truck would come up, we pop the hood, clip it on.
Wow.
90 psi water floods in. There's a burst disc on the battery, so it's usually sealed. It's airtight until we flood it and burst that disc. And that's really not to fight a fire, but to actually
Prevent it. Oh, cool it.
prevent it. And because we can respond so quickly to issues, we can catch fires before they start. That's the real goal. And that's one of like the critical things we had to answer is if people wanted to take these cars racing, how would you tackle it? Because out in the pits, there's that instinct for safety already. Right?
Sure.
There's an understanding of what you do, what you don't do. There's a lot of rules and regulations in place. We're trying to really grow that for electrifying. And so that's just one of the many questions we had to answer when developing this type of vehicle, just beyond the performance, which we're also very happy with.
So, talk about the performance real quick, and now I want to know the numbers. I was talking to the other guy yesterday. He says around closer to 1900.
Yeah,
and
so 1800 on paper.
what's the
on frame.
torque on it? That's what I want to know.
We make 1,400 foot-pounds at 0
Holy
RPM.
cow.
So again, we have 4 electric motors, but they're all in the front. We have a tractor-pulling gearbox that sums that all up to a single output.
Really?
So really on the back of all of this, so there's our tractor-pulling box back here. You have a motor, another motor, and you have another 2 down there.
Wow.
That's why we have 4 inverters. We sum that all up, which is why we can get such incredible torque. And we can do that from the first rotation of this motor. We can blow these tires, these 14.5-inch tires
Of course.
off immediately. That was a lot of work where, it's an electric motor, you would think it would drive it like an electric vehicle, but we actually really operate this much more like a combustion car, where we want power, we appreciate the torque, we use it off the line, but we have a 5-speed transmission. Not because, again, it's a compromise, but because we don't make power until 7,000 RPM. Just
Really?
like these race engines. We make
It's got a curve,
Oh yeah,
actual.
because we make 100% of our torque at 0 RPM, but that's not really power. Power comes from making that torque at speed. So we make 1,400 foot-pounds from 0 to 7,000 RPM.
Wow.
And the power is increasing that whole time. And from 7,000 RPM to 10,000 RPM, our torque actually begins to fall off, but we're in what's called the constant power zone, where we're squeezing this battery as hard as humanly possible.
Gotcha.
And so, again, it has a power curve just like a gas engine. We run it just like a gas engine, where we, at first gear, do a big wheel stand, get that traction in first gear, but then down track, we want to be above 7,000 the whole time.
Well, I watched it when it launched yesterday a couple times, and it got up on the back wheels pretty good.
Yeah.
And then it shuddered and couldn't get a good bite. What is Ford going to do, and the technology of drag racing going to do to try to get a bite with this thing? Is that rear end actually wheel hopping a little bit?
We are getting to a tire shake. It's something we've been chasing this weekend. What's interesting is we've actually, at that point, got out of our launch window, and we're applying full torque at that point.
Gotcha.
So
You're putting all of it to it.
correct. From a powertrain perspective, we were able to get that torque down, and now, again, very much like what the racers do out here, we're looking at suspension changes. We were looking at our suspension travel, wheelie bar engagement. It's the same deal, where we're chasing the surface this weekend, trying to get, because we really don't want to pull any torque. Our goal is to keep maximum power and to try to get this car down the track this weekend.
Gotcha. So you're not 3/4. you're at full throttle trying to figure this thing out to,
Yeah,
to
really,
put it to the test all the way.
If I'm a powertrain engineer, if we're not applying full torque within the first second, I want to do better.
Gotcha.
Because we know what the car is capable of. We know in testing what it can do. We know what the service conditions are out here. It's just there's some additional variables. You know, there's the nitro cars out here. There's clutch dust. You know, depending on how much we're cleaning the track. So we're trying to push this car a bit further, and so we're going to get those tire shake situations. And so that's why we're making adjustments. We're going to be chasing that performance this weekend.
Well, one thing I noticed, I'm getting on this track and seeing how sticky it is opposed to like at U.S. Nationals. I did a track walk last year at the Nationals, and your feet really stuck.
Yeah,
They use some amazing compound to use that. I don't know if they have that here. It's really expensive.
So yeah, there's a lot of good track prep. It's just different classes have different needs.
Of course.
And as an exhibition vehicle, we can sort of pick and choose what classes we run behind, but we're still chasing that. Where in testing, you know, we can make this thing a perfect, you know, sticky surface. Now it's a bit more of a realistic situation where you're relying on what the cars before you did. Are they tearing it up? Are there bald spots?
Sure.
Where do we have to place the car in the lane? So it gets to a situation now it's a bit more racing, where we know the surface is good, the prep here is good. Now it's just a matter of finding even the right groove in that prep.
Gotcha. Well, Cletus McFarland's involved with this track. He owns half of it. So,
heard that, yes.
yeah, he's going to get this place dialed in, and hopefully you can get back here and see this thing run. What tracks do you go to run this? Is there a proving? Do you have a quarter mile to proving grounds with Ford?
No, because we, just like, again, we want to run this just like these other cars where we go to the same facilities. The car lives in Seattle, so most of the facilities we go to on the West Coast.
Gotcha. What do you think the future is going to be? Is this the only one, or is there more than one of these?
This is a one-of-one demonstrator.
Right now?
Again, because this is really on the cutting edge of how battery technology, the powertrain development, really pushing the envelope. There are a lot of grassroots efforts that are also really cool, and we really appreciate seeing the grassroots cars, people pushing performance with any type of combination of motor, vehicle.
Of course.
We keep up with it. But I believe this represents really just the envelope of trying to get performance down in a drag racing context. And really what that looks like is we've really taken a lot of the base understanding from drag racers. Racers have been perfecting the drag racing car for over 70 years now. And you turn out, you build off that knowledge, and you don't really have to start from scratch. So in terms of like the future, where I see this going, it's, you know, I think this sort of represents that. And really how much effort Ford's putting into trying to understand that.
Yeah. Big question I got, are they going to implement this technology on street cars in a Mustang? Not quite that much, but you know, 2 motors or 1 motor. Is this going to transpond onto street Mustangs eventually, EV cars?
I think what I will say is actually, interestingly, we worked a lot with the production teams. They gave us a lot of advice on how to put this car together. So I would actually say a lot of this competence is reflective of what Ford's production team is capable of. We came to them with quite a few issues and challenges, and they actually lent us their advice. And the feedback that we give is we push these materials to the absolute limit. And that's where we can feed that knowledge back. So in terms of like the production knowledge, I think it's actually a pretty good representation of how far Ford has come.
Wow.
In terms of how far they can push this. And again, a lot of like how we test and develop this battery was a lot of it was Ford production knowledge.
Really?
Yeah.
Other question, does GM have any of this technology yet?
I will say we are the only
other
one,
brand?
I will say we are the only one going this quick with a full body EV.
No shit. Have you heard of GM or any of the other manufacturers getting involved with doing something similar?
Nothing that I've heard.
They're going to keep it down low. After they see this, they're going to be going to the drawing board to get a whatever they're going to build to do it, you know. You know, if Ford does it, Chevy's going to come along. It's always vice versa, or either or, you know.
Well, I'm glad I'm here with Ford because we
Man, it's cool. I've got a 17 Rouse RS3 Mustang, and I love that car. It's my second Ford. My other one is a 71 Pantera with a Boss 351 Cleveland and old school. So, yeah. So I've got a little bit of history of Ford, not that much, but it's really cool. I appreciate your time on this.
Oh, absolutely. I love when people come out and look at the car. I think if people learn a lot that this car really is much more of a drag racing vehicle first.
Yeah.
And I think it makes it really approachable, but it's really interesting to learn that that's not only just because we want to make it recognizable, that's just the right way to do it. So
Sure.
I'm really glad people come out and ask, because you would think it's just like any other electric car on the road, and really it's something,
It isn't.
It's something totally different.
It is. Well, I sure appreciate your time. Everybody out in YouTube world will enjoy seeing this. I've got 3 other videos on it already uploaded, so I'm with y'all.
Yeah.
Sure appreciate it, brother. Thanks so much. All right. Good interview with the guys on this Ford Cobra jet. Very knowledgeable on this car. He's one of the head engineers on it, I guess. And it's amazing the technology that Ford put into this build. And I believe GM does not have anything on it. So they're going to be the leader of the pack. As you heard, I asked him if GM had anything cooking in GM as far as a performance EV vehicle. Of course, the Corvette, but no more Camaro. So you wonder what their next move is. If this actually does stick and they get a class for this, I think it'll be pretty cool. It'll be a nice add-on to NHRA if they could do it. So that's my 2 cents on that one. I'm not a fan of the technology with EV. I'm old school, big blocks, race fuel, and it'd be hard. I've never owned an EV, don't plan on it, but it may happen one day. I don't know. Getting Doug Coletta's car all set. I think this is pretty cool. His motorhome is a cool deal. Him back in the day, the bounty hunter. He had a list on the left rear quarter panel of who he was going to beat. And I'll tell you what, that's pretty ballsy, excuse my French there. But quite an amazing man. He's still kicking it. He's still here, and I like it. I tell you what, this is a big gig. There's a lot of people here, man. It's amazing. We'll get got Ford racing experience with one Tasca's cars here. Excuse me. I think they got a simulator in there. The Mach X, little Mustang SUV. Pretty neat. Wow. 5.0. Look at that, with 2 intakes now in 2025. What? $65,000 Mustang. Here's some of the specs on it. 25 GT Premium. Wow. Well, it's sharp. They didn't do a lot of changes on them. A little bit of the emblem and, the dual intake on it. Pretty sharp. Well, I tell you what, it's busy out here today, as you can see. Bob Tasca III. It's kicking today.
Did it last night.
Well, I think I'm gonna have to get over and get ready to film up on the stands. They won't give me access, which I did try to get access. They didn't respond back to me. So I talked to Cletus yesterday and asked him about that. He said next year we'll get you dialed in. So Be looking forward to that. And all kinds of tractors and got food everywhere. Big cheese. What's a big cheese? Looks good. Let me have one of these. I'll be back.